Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Finding Genius podcast, now a part of the Finding Genius Foundation. Today I have Manuela Ramalho. She's a cell and molecular biologist in the Department of Ecology and Evolutionary Biology at Cornell University. And we're going to talk about ants and some interesting features about them. So, Manuela, thanks for coming.
Thank you for inviting me, Richard. It's a huge pleasure for me to be able to talk about these topics that I love, ants and microbiome.
Oh, good. Yeah, I've been looking for people that deal with the microbiome of ants, and it just so happens that my kids always leave food in their rooms, and so we have ants now that the weather's warming up, like swarming all over the place, and I don't know what kind they are, but I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, so I understand you. I have kids as well and a dog, so yeah, ants love them. And I grew up in Brazil as I'm Brazilian, so in the tropics, we have ants everywhere.
Well, how did you get interested in them? Just because you grew up around them and you were curious, or what's the story?
So, yes, as a Brazilian, I grew up in the tropic with a lot of insects around, but was just in the college that I met my advisor, Dr. Odair Correa Bueno, and he was fascinated by ants. So I was starting to do my researchers as an undergrad, and more I learned about them, more I fell in love all of these ants facts. But speaking specifically about microbiome and symbiotic interaction, that is a big part of my research today, I was first fascinated with Wolbachia and ants interaction. So Wolbachia, it's a very common bacteria in many insects, including ants. And we still know very little about the effects of this bacteria and what they can cause for the host. So this whole unknown world of symbiotic interactions with microorganisms and insects caught my attention. And with each study that have been published, we are discovered that there is no one single standard or a single rule that can apply for the entire system. So this symbiosis can be variable and complex, which make our tasks challenging, but also super fun. And definitely, that's why I'm very interested in continuing studying this.
So you're focused on the microbiome of ants, or what's your particular focus?
Yes, I'm actually, to understand the patterns of biodiversity, we must consider symbiotic interaction as they can shape the animal evolution. So I'm interested in questions that how we can change this symbiosis, how can we explain all of these diversities? So these kind of questions that intrigues me and I love to study. But my researcher focus on understanding the mechanisms that impacts the microbiome communities, unraveling the role of the ecology, behavior, stage of the development, diet, and also the phylogeny of the host in these symbiotic interactions. And then to answer these questions, I use ants as a study model. And it is very known for several ant genera that symbiotic interactions with microbiome community have a profound impact for the host. So more than that, ants have a wide distribution across the globe, and they are immense diversity and behaviors and ecology. And also, I think they are beautiful and they are fascinating. So this was a perfect combination for me.
Okay. Have you sequenced the microbiome of various ant species? Like what have you done in terms of the microbiome of ants?
So we already studied several different species, microbiome of different species, actually in different parts of the world. So different behaviors and everything. And one of the most recent studies published last year, one ant that it's called Daceton ermisium. It's a predator who lives in the neotropics. And when we sequence their microbiomes associated. So for that particular project, we want to also test that the role of the diet for that specific species because they are predators.